Just a couple of more notes when it comes to that writing sample that Amazon usually requires everyone level 6 or level 7 to fill in. First, and the more interesting is why would you wait until 2 days prior to the interview to submit your writing sample when you could ideally, submit it much sooner, so you could optimize, you could have more time to spend on actually preparing the on-site interview, because if you basically have to pick between those two questions, innovation or thought, a judgment call. So why would it be so challenging for you to come up with an idea, whenever you're going for the on-site, whenever they tell you it's required, when compared to just a couple of few days before the interview? So my recommendation is, if at all possible, submit it as soon as you can. The other note that I wanted to make here is that probably the majority of candidates submit too long writing samples. So they are, 3 pages, or they are 2 pages but with very small fonts, and they are oftentimes a bit on the longer side. Now, I won't go into details as recommended number of characters and so on and so forth, because I noticed that it most likely depends on actually by the team that you're submitting to within Amazon. And I've been receiving feedback that 8,000 character limit is not mentioned most of the time, actually. So I will not tell you to stay within those 8,000 characters, but I will tell you this: I've seen writing samples from Amazon bar raisers who are just over 1 page long. So and it was with good fonts. In Google Docs it was with 11. So I would say that you should try to be as concise as possible. Take into account Amazon's communication focus, and I don't think that the more information you submit, the better it will get. I guess this is the simplest way to put it. The other point I wanted to talk about here is data. Like too many of these writing samples do not contain quantifiable information and fail to set a proper context for that given event. So if you have to submit one, make sure that you quantify properly all the elements that are relevant to the discussion, both in the introduction as well as in the outcome. Now, if you want to follow the star format using to craft your story, that's perfectly fine, although it's not a mandatory requirement. So the structure is the one that you consider the best for to communicate your idea in the most efficient way possible. Now, for the candidates that are not really good writers, I would recommend you to go with the STAR method, because it allows you to properly structure it in case you don't know how to structure it. And I have another video about structuring and all that stuff, but it needs some structure and needs some metrics. So metrics are something, you would always say like, yes, I include some metrics there, but when you look at it one more time, you realize that actually those metrics could be even better than you thought. And last but not least, I've also encountered cases where they did not ask someone applying for a pretty senior role, at least a level 7 role, they did not ask them for a writing sample. And I believe that you could eventually send the writing sample, or at least make a writing sample and ask your recruiter to submit it to the hiring team, because I don't think you have much to lose here. I don't think it's a dangerous move by any means. So if they don't ask you one and you feel like you're applying for quite a senior role, you could also consider sending them a writing sample. There's also another extreme case, which I'm not sure whether you should pursue or not, but at least I give you some ideas here. If they ask you for a writing sample and you think you have 2 stories that are extremely interesting for the occasion, you could consider, I said, not send, sending in both of them. If you consider they are, very different stories and highlight of core competencies required for someone applying for this role, yes, I believe this could also be an interesting idea.